The warning bells rang through the massive control room of the Zephyrian Empire's main command center. Admiral Vextar rushed to the main screen, his 4 yellow eyes wide with surprise. Something big was happening at the edge of their space territory. "What is it?" he asked the young officer sitting at the sensor station. "Sir, we have detected a large fleet of unknown ships," the officer replied, his voice shaking slightly. "They appeared near the Kepler Nebula about 10 minutes ago." Admiral Vextar looked at the data on his screen. The numbers made him feel worried. There were thousands of ships out there. Thousands. In all his years serving the Empire, he had never seen such a large fleet appear from nowhere. "Show me the visual data," he ordered. The main screen changed to show the mysterious fleet. Vextar's mouth opened in shock. The ships looked nothing like anything he had ever seen before. They were big and heavy-looking, made of what appeared to be simple metal. Their design was rough and basic, like something a child might build with blocks. "These ships look very old," said Commander Zalix, who had just arrived at the command center. "Look at their engines. Are those fusion reactors?" "It appears so," replied the science officer. "We have not seen fusion technology used for space travel in over 1,000 years. Most civilized species stopped using such primitive power sources long ago." Admiral Vextar felt confused. The Empire had ruled this part of the galaxy for 3,000 years. They knew every species, every planet, every fleet that existed in their territory. But these ships were completely unknown to them. "Where did they come from?" he asked. "Unknown, sir. They just appeared on our sensors. No jump signatures, no warp trails. They seem to have traveled here using regular space flight." Regular space flight? Vextar could not believe it. That would take hundreds of years to travel between star systems. "Yes, sir." Which makes this even more strange. The Admiral walked closer to the main screen. The unknown fleet was moving in perfect formation toward Empire space. Their movement was not random or confused. These ships knew exactly where they were going. "Sir," called out the communications officer, "High Chancellor Morden wants to speak with you right away." Admiral Vextar pressed a button on his control panel. The face of High Chancellor Morden appeared on a smaller screen. The Chancellor looked angry and worried. "Admiral, what is this I hear about an unknown fleet in our territory?" The Chancellor demanded. "Sir, we have detected approximately 4,000 ships of unknown origin moving toward our space. Their technology appears to be very primitive, but their numbers are concerning." 4,000 ships? The Chancellor's scaled skin changed color, showing his shock. "That is impossible. We monitor all space traffic in this sector. Where could such a large fleet come from?" "We do not know, sir. We are trying to identify them now." "Try harder," the Chancellor ordered. "I want answers within the hour, and prepare our defense fleets. I do not like surprises." The screen went dark. Admiral Vextar turned back to his crew. Everyone was working frantically at their stations, trying to gather information about the mysterious visitors. "Sir," called the communications officer again, "we are picking up transmissions from the unknown fleet. Can you understand what they are saying?" "Not yet, sir. The language is completely unknown to us. It sounds very harsh and difficult to pronounce. Our computers are trying to find patterns in their speech." Admiral Vextar listened to the audio recording. The voices from the unknown ship sounded rough and aggressive. The words had many hard sounds that hurt his ears to hear. It was unlike any language in the Empire's vast database. "Keep working on it," he ordered. "What about their ship designs? Can our computers match them to any known species?" "No match is found, sir," replied the science officer. "These ships appear to use technology we abandoned centuries ago, but there is something strange about them." "What do you mean?" "Well, sir, even though their technology is old, their ships are built very well. The metal they use looks strong and thick. Their weapons appear to be simple kinetic projectiles, but they have many of them on each ship." Admiral Vextar studied the data more carefully. The unknown ships carried hundreds of small weapons that fired metal projectiles. This was ancient technology, but each ship had so many weapons that they could fire thousands of projectiles at once. "Sir," said Commander Xylex, "I am worried about something." "What is it?" These ships may look primitive, but look at how they are arranged. This is not the formation of lost travelers or merchants. This is a war fleet. Admiral Vextar looked at the formation again. Commander Xylix was right. The ships were arranged in perfect attack formation. Larger ships in the center, smaller ones spread out for scouting and protection. This was definitely a military fleet. "How long until they reach our territory border?" he asked. "At their current speed, about 6 hours, sir. Send out a patrol fleet to meet them. Use the standard first contact protocols, but be ready for trouble." "Yes, sir. Which ships should we send?" "Send the 3rd patrol fleet. That should be enough to handle any primitive species." Admiral Vextar watched as his orders were carried out. The 3rd patrol fleet consisted of 12 advanced Empire warships. Each one was more powerful than anything most species could imagine. Their shields could stop any known weapon, and their energy cannons could destroy entire cities. But as he watched the unknown fleet continue its steady approach, Admiral Vextar felt a strange worry in his stomach. Something about these mysterious ships bothered him. Maybe it was their huge numbers, or their perfect military formation, or the way they moved with such confidence toward Empire space. "Sir," said the communications officer, "our language computers have made some progress with their transmissions. What have you learned?" "They call themselves humans, sir, and they appear to be looking for something." "Looking for what?" "We are not sure yet, sir. But they keep using words that might mean home or new place to live." Admiral Vextar felt his worry grow stronger. A nomadic species with thousands of warships looking for a new home was exactly the kind of problem the Empire did not need. "Keep monitoring their transmissions," he ordered, "and contact me the moment our patrol fleet makes contact with them." As the hours passed, the unknown human fleet continued its approach. Admiral Vextar could not shake the feeling that something big was about to happen, something that would change everything for the Empire. He had no idea how right he was. The humans were coming, and they were not the primitive, helpless species the Empire expected them to be. They had traveled across the dark spaces between stars for years, looking for a new home. They had faced the cold emptiness of space and survived. Now they had found a galaxy full of life and planets. But they had also found an empire that believed it owned everything. The meeting between the Empire and humanity was only hours away. Neither side knew what was about to happen, but both would remember this day for the rest of their existence. The question, "Whose fleet is that?" would soon have an answer that would shock the entire galaxy. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the human ship called Indomitable. She looked out at the stars through the big front window, thinking about how far they had come from Earth. 3 long years of traveling through space, following old star maps and looking for new worlds where humans could live. "Captain," called Lieutenant Torres from his position at the weapons control station, "we have made contact with alien ships." Sarah felt her heart beat faster. This was the moment they had all hoped for during their long journey. First contact with another intelligent species. Maybe they would be friendly. Maybe they could help humanity find new homes among the stars. "How many ships?" she asked. 12 alien vessels, Captain. They are much more advanced than our ships. Their technology is far beyond what we have." Sarah nodded. The human fleet had expected this. Earth scientists had always known that if they found other intelligent life, those aliens would probably be more advanced than humans. Humanity was still new to space travel. "Open communication channels," she ordered. "Let's try to talk to them." The communications officer worked at his station for several minutes. "Captain, I am sending mathematical sequences and basic scientific information. This should show them we are intelligent." For the next hour, the humans tried to communicate with the alien ships. They sent pictures showing human cities, music, art, and science. They transmitted the positions of planets in the solar system and mathematical formulas that any intelligent species would understand. Finally, the aliens responded. Their message came through as a holographic display that appeared in the center of the bridge. The image showed alien creatures that looked like large lizards walking on 2 legs. They had scales instead of skin and 4 eyes instead of 2. "Captain," said the language computer, "I am starting to understand some of their words. They appear to be giving us some kind of order. What kind of order? They want us to surrender, Captain. They are demanding that we give up our weapons and follow them to their territory. Sarah felt confused. Surrender? Why would they want us to surrender? We came here in peace. The alien transmission continued. New images appeared showing the complete destruction of primitive space fleets. Ships exploded in bright flashes of light. The message was clear. Surrender or be destroyed. Captain, said Commander Martinez, who was standing beside her. I don't think these aliens are friendly. Sarah tried to stay calm. Maybe this was just a misunderstanding. Maybe the aliens were just being careful about unknown ships in their space. Send another message, she ordered. Tell them we come in peace. Tell them we are explorers looking for friendship and trade. We mean no harm to anyone. The humans waited for a response. When it came, it was not what they hoped for. The lead alien ship fired a powerful energy weapon at the human scout ship, Magellan. The blast was so bright that everyone on the bridge had to close their eyes. When they looked again, the Magellan was gone. Nothing remained except tiny pieces of metal floating in space. 200 human beings had just been murdered. Sarah felt anger rise up inside her like a fire. The Magellan had been full of scientists and explorers. Good people who had volunteered to travel across the galaxy to find new worlds for humanity. They had families back on Earth waiting for them to return. Captain, said Lieutenant Torres, his voice tight with emotion. All alien ships are targeting us with their weapons. Sarah looked around the bridge at her crew. These were brave men and women who had left everything behind to explore the stars. They had not come here to fight a war, but the aliens had just made that choice for them. Signal all human ships, she said, her voice steady and cold. Operation Broken Arrow is now in effect. All ships prepare for combat. We will show these murderers what happens when they kill human explorers. The alien commander had expected the primitive human fleet to run away or surrender after seeing the destruction of the Magellan. Instead, something happened that shocked him completely. The human ships turned toward the alien fleet and attacked. The human weapons were simple compared to alien technology. They fired pieces of metal at very high speed, and they used nuclear explosives that were primitive by galactic standards. But the humans had many ships and they all attacked at the same time. The alien ships had powerful shields that could stop most weapons. But the humans fired so many projectiles that some of them got through. The nuclear explosives were weak compared to alien energy weapons, but they still caused damage when they hit. More importantly, the humans fought with a fury that the aliens had never seen before. When human ships were damaged, they did not retreat. Instead, they moved closer to the alien ships and continued fighting. Some human captains actually crashed their ships into alien vessels when their weapons stopped working. The alien patrol had never faced an enemy like this. Most species in the galaxy would surrender when they saw superior technology. But the humans seemed to think that losing was not an option. The battle lasted only 20 minutes. When it was over, all 12 alien ships were destroyed or badly damaged. The human fleet had lost 8 ships, but 36 human vessels remained ready to fight. Captain Sarah Chen looked at the floating remains of the alien fleet. She felt no satisfaction in the victory. Too many good people had died today, both human and alien. But the aliens had made their choice when they destroyed the Magellan. Captain, said the communications officer, we received a message from the aliens just before their last ship was destroyed. What did it say? It was a warning message sent to their home fleet. They told their people about us. Sarah nodded. She had expected this. The aliens now knew that humans existed, and they knew that humans would fight back when attacked. Signal the fleet, she ordered. We continue with our mission. But from now on, we assume that any alien contact might be hostile. We came here to explore and find new homes. We did not come here to conquer anyone. But we will not let anyone murder us without consequences. The human fleet moved deeper into alien space. Behind them, they left the wreckage of the first battle between humanity and the Zephyrian Empire. It would not be the last. Word of the battle traveled quickly through Empire communication networks. Military commanders across the galaxy heard the impossible news. A primitive species had destroyed an entire Imperial patrol fleet. High Chancellor Morden could not believe the reports when he first heard them. Primitive aliens with fusion-powered ships had defeated advanced Imperial warships. It seemed impossible, but the evidence was clear. The third patrol fleet was gone, and the unknown humans were still moving through Empire space. They had not run away after the first battle. Instead, they appeared to be looking for more fights. For the first time in centuries, the Zephyrian Empire faced an enemy that was not afraid of them. The humans had just announced to the galaxy that they would not bow down to anyone, no matter how powerful. The Empire was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon was not their ships or their bombs. It was their absolute refusal to give up when they believed they were fighting for something important. The war between humanity and the Empire had begun. High Admiral Kretok sat in his office reading battle reports that made no sense. The papers in front of him described impossible events. According to these reports, primitive aliens were destroying Imperial fleets across the galaxy. This cannot be right, he said to himself, reading the same report for the third time. Commander Zelix entered the office, his face showing the stress of the past few weeks. "Sir, I have more reports from the front lines." "More defeats?" Admiral Kretok asked, though he already knew the answer. "Yes, sir. The 7th Patrol Fleet engaged the humans near the Centauri system. The entire fleet was destroyed in less than 15 minutes. Admiral Kretok threw the papers onto his desk in frustration. How is this possible? These humans use primitive technology. Their ships are made of simple metal. They should not be able to defeat our advanced warships. "Sir, I have studied all the battle recordings," Commander Zilk said carefully. "The humans fight differently than any species we have ever encountered." "What do you mean?" "They do not follow normal military rules, sir. When their ships are damaged, they do not retreat to repair them. Instead, they attack more aggressively. Some human captains have actually crashed their ships into our vessels rather than surrender." Admiral Kretok could not understand this. "That makes no military sense. A damaged ship should withdraw from battle." "Yes, sir. That is what any reasonable species would do. But the humans are not reasonable. They fight like every battle is, the most important thing in their lives." The Admiral stood up and walked to the large window in his office. Outside, he could see the Imperial home fleet. Hundreds of powerful warships floated in space around the Empire's capital planet. These ships had kept peace in the galaxy for thousands of years. "Tell me about their tactics," he said. Commander Zilix opened his personal datapad. "The humans use what we call swarm attacks, sir. They send many small ships against our larger vessels. Our weapons are designed to fight other large warships, not hundreds of small attack craft. Our point defense systems should stop small ships easily." "That is what we thought, sir. But the humans have learned to overwhelm our defenses. They attack from many directions at the same time. Even if we destroy most of their ships, some always get through." Admiral Kretok turned back to face his aide. "What about their weapons? Our intelligence reports say they still use kinetic projectiles and nuclear explosives." "Yes, sir. But they use them in ways we did not expect. Their metal projectiles move very fast, and they fire thousands of them at once. Our shields can stop energy weapons easily, but these physical projectiles sometimes get through." "And their nuclear weapons?" "Primitive but effective, sir. They are not as powerful as our plasma cannons, but the humans use them in large numbers. When 50 nuclear explosives hit the same shield at the same time, even our best defenses can fail." Admiral Kretok sat back down at his desk. "There must be something else. No primitive species should be able to defeat the Empire's military." Commander Zilix looked uncomfortable. "Sir, there is one more thing. The humans are learning from each battle." "What do you mean?" "Every time we fight them, they use new tactics. Intelligence reports show that they study our destroyed ships and learn how our technology works. They are adapting their weapons and strategies based on what they discover." Admiral Kretok felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "How fast are they learning?" "Very fast, sir. Technologies that took us thousands of years to develop, they seem to understand in just a few weeks. Their engineers are remarkably clever." This was the most disturbing news of all. The Empire had always depended on their technological advantage to defeat enemies. If the humans could learn Imperial technology quickly, that advantage would disappear. Sir, Commander Zilks continued, there is something else you should know. The human fleet is growing. Growing? How is that possible? They are far from their home territory. We believe other human colonies are sending ships to join the fight, sir. Long-range scouts report new human vessels arriving every day. Their fleet now numbers over 10,000 ships. Admiral Kretak stood up quickly, knocking over his chair. 10,000 ships? That is larger than most Imperial sector fleets. Yes, sir. And they are all moving toward our core territories. The Admiral walked around his office trying to think. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They had defeated hundreds of different species and conquered thousands of worlds. No enemy had ever posed a real threat to Imperial power. But these humans were different. They refused to surrender when they should. They learned new technology faster than anyone thought possible. And worst of all, they seemed to be united in their hatred of the Empire. Why do they hate us so much? Admiral Kretak asked. We only destroyed one of their ships during first contact. That is standard procedure for unknown vessels. Sir, I believe that is exactly the problem. The ship we destroyed was full of their scientists and explorers. To the humans, we murdered innocent people who came in peace. Admiral Kretak realized the Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had treated the first human contact like any other primitive species. But the humans were not like other species. They valued the lives of their people more than military logic. What are our options? He asked. We could try to negotiate with them, sir. Would they accept negotiations? Unknown, sir, but probably not. Our intelligence suggests they will not stop fighting until the Empire agrees to major changes in how we treat other species. That is impossible. The Empire does not negotiate with primitives. Then we must destroy them, sir. But that will require a much larger military response. Admiral Kretak thought about this. The Empire had vast military resources. They could bring thousands of ships to fight the humans. But the cost would be enormous and there was no guarantee of victory. Contact High Chancellor Morden, he ordered. Tell him I recommend we deploy the 5th Fleet against the human threat. The entire 5th Fleet, sir. That includes the World Breaker. Yes, we will show these humans the true power of the Empire. One massive battle should end this war before it spreads further. Commander Zilix looked worried. Sir, what if the humans defeat the 5th Fleet too? Admiral Kretak did not want to think about that possibility. The 5th Fleet was the Empire's most powerful military force. If the humans could defeat it, then the Empire itself might be in real danger. They will not defeat us, he said, trying to sound confident. The humans have been lucky so far, but luck does not last forever. When they face the full might of Imperial technology, they will surrender or be destroyed. But even as he said these words, Admiral Kretak wondered if he was right. The humans had already done things that should have been impossible. Maybe they would find a way to do the impossible again. The orders went out across the Empire's communication network. The mighty 5th Fleet began gathering for what everyone hoped would be the final battle against humanity. 1,200 Imperial warships, including the legendary planet-killing dreadnought Worldbreaker, prepared to face the human threat. The Empire believed that overwhelming force would solve their human problem. They were about to discover that force alone might not be enough against an enemy that refused to give up. The greatest battle in galactic history was about to begin. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the main meeting room of the Indomitable, looking at representatives from dozens of human colonies. The room was crowded with ship captains, engineers, and military commanders who had traveled across the galaxy to join the fight against the Empire. How many ships do we have now? She asked. Commander Martinez checked his datapad. 15,000 ships, Captain. And more are arriving every day. Sarah could hardly believe it. When they had first left Earth, the expedition consisted of only 4,000 ships. But word of the Empire's attack had spread to every human colony in known space. Cargo ships, mining vessels, passenger liners, and military escorts had all been converted into warships and sent to join the battle. What about the retrofits? She asked Chief Engineer Nakamura. Almost complete, Captain. We have successfully installed captured Imperial shield generators on most of our large ships. The weapon upgrades are also going well. This was humanity's secret advantage. While the Empire believed that primitive species could not understand advanced technology, human engineers had proven them wrong. Within weeks of capturing their first Imperial ship, human scientists had figured out how the alien shields and weapons worked. The energy weapons are the most difficult part, Engineer Nakamura continued. Imperial plasma cannons require power sources we do not have, but we have found a solution. What solution? We connect multiple fusion reactors together, Captain. It is not as efficient as Imperial zero-point energy, but it works. Our largest ships can now fire Imperial-level energy weapons. Sarah nodded. The human fleet was no longer the primitive force that had first encountered the Empire. They had become something new, a combination of human determination and Imperial technology. Captain, called out the communications officer, we are receiving a priority message from our long-range scouts. What is it? The Imperial Fifth Fleet has been spotted moving toward our position. Estimated arrival time is 18 hours. The key room became quiet. Everyone knew about the Imperial Fifth Fleet. It was the Empire's most powerful military force, led by the massive dreadnought Worldbreaker. Intelligence reports said the Worldbreaker was over 1 kilometer long and carried enough firepower to destroy entire planets. How many ships? Sarah asked. 1,200 vessels, Captain, including the Worldbreaker. Sarah looked around the room at the faces of her fellow humans. She saw worry in their eyes, but she also saw determination. These people had traveled across the galaxy to fight for humanity's freedom. They would not give up now. We are outnumbered, she said calmly. The Empire ships are more advanced than ours. By every military calculation, we should lose this battle. The room remained silent. Everyone knew she was telling the truth. But, Sarah continued, the Empire has made one critical mistake. They think this is just another military campaign. They think they can defeat us with superior technology and firepower. She walked to the center of the room. They do not understand what they are really fighting. This is not just about ships and weapons. This is about humanity's right to exist as free people in this galaxy. Commander Martinez stood up. What are your orders, Captain? Sarah looked at the tactical display showing the positions of both fleets. The Imperial force was impressive, but it was also traditional. They would attack in standard formation, expecting the humans to either surrender or be quickly defeated. We are going to do something the Empire does not expect, she said. We are going to attack them. Attack? Asked one of the colony captains. But Captain, they have the Worldbreaker. That ship alone could destroy half our fleet. Yes, it could, Sarah agreed. If we fight the way the Empire expects us to fight. But we are not going to do that. She activated the holographic tactical display in the center of the room. The image showed both fleets and the space around them. The Empire always fights the same way, she explained. They form up in battle lines and use their superior firepower to defeat enemies. It has worked for them for thousands of years. What are you suggesting? Asked Chief Engineer Nakamura. We divide our fleet into small groups and attack from multiple directions at the same time. The Empire ships are designed to fight other large warships in organized battles. They are not prepared for chaos. Commander Martinez studied the tactical plan. It could work, but we would take heavy losses. Yes, we would, Sarah admitted. Many of us will not survive this battle, but if we can defeat the Fifth Fleet, the Empire will be forced to negotiate. No other Imperial force is powerful enough to challenge us. The room was quiet for a long moment. Everyone understood what she was asking. This would be a desperate battle with a high cost in human lives. Captain, said one of the mining ship captains, my crew did not sign up to be soldiers. We came here to fight for our families and our freedom. If you think this plan will work, we will follow you. One by one, the other captains agreed. Cargo haulers, passenger ships, mining vessels, and military escorts all committed to the battle plan. 15,000 human ships would face 1,200 Imperial warships in the largest space battle in galactic history. Signal all ships. Sarah ordered. Begin battle preparations. In 18 hours we will show the Empire that humanity cannot be conquered. The next few hours were busy with final preparations. Human engineers worked frantically to complete weapon upgrades and shield installations. Crews practiced attack formations and reviewed battle plans. Medical teams prepared for the wounded. Captain Sarah Chen spent the time visiting different ships in the fleet. She talked to crews, answered questions, and tried to give encouragement to people who were far from home and facing a terrible battle. On every ship she visited, she saw the same thing: humans who were afraid, but determined to fight. Farmers who had become gunners, shopkeepers who had become pilots, teachers who had become soldiers. All of them united by the knowledge that they were fighting for something more important than their own lives. "Captain," said Lieutenant Torres, as she returned to the Indomitable, "the Imperial fleet will be here in 2 hours." Sarah looked out at the human fleet surrounding her ship. 15,000 vessels of every size and type, all crewed by volunteers who had chosen to fight for humanity's freedom. "Signal all ships," she ordered. "This is Captain Chen. In 2 hours we face the Imperial Fifth Fleet. They believe they can defeat us because their ships are more advanced and their weapons are more powerful." She paused, thinking about the Magellan and the 200 people who had died during first contact. But they are wrong. We do not fight for conquest or glory. We fight because the Empire tried to make us kneel. We fight because they murdered our people who came in peace. We fight because no one has the right to rule over humanity except humanity itself. The communication channel filled with voices from across the fleet, thousands of humans expressing their agreement and their determination to fight. "Today, we will show the galaxy that human beings cannot be conquered," Sarah continued. "Today, we will prove that courage and determination are stronger than any weapon. Today we make our stand for freedom." The Imperial Fifth Fleet appeared on long-range sensors exactly on schedule, 1,200 ships in perfect formation, led by the massive Worldbreaker. They approached the human fleet with confidence, expecting an easy victory over primitive aliens. They had no idea that they were about to face something completely new in galactic warfare. An entire species that would rather die fighting than live as slaves. The battle that would change the galaxy forever was about to begin. The battle lasted 18 hours. When the smoke cleared and the debris stopped floating through space, only one ship remained operational near the dying star where the two fleets had met. The battered human flagship Indomitable drifted slowly. Among the wreckage of the greatest space battle in galactic history, Captain Sarah Chen sat in her damaged command chair, looking out at the destruction around them. Pieces of both human and Imperial ships floated everywhere. The massive Worldbreaker, the Empire's most powerful ship, hung dark and silent with its hull broken in dozens of places. "Damage report," she said quietly. "Heavy casualties across the fleet, Captain," Lieutenant Torres replied, his voice tired and sad. "We lost over 8,000 ships. That means more than 2 million people." Sarah closed her eyes for a moment. 2 million brave humans who had died fighting for their freedom. Families who would never see their loved ones return home. Children who would grow up without parents. What about the Imperial fleet? "Complete destruction, Captain. No Imperial ships survived the battle. We estimate their losses at over 3 million personnel." Sarah felt no joy in the victory. Too many people had died on both sides. But the sacrifice had not been meaningless. The Empire's most powerful fleet was gone, and with it, their ability to threaten humanity. "Captain," called the communications officer, "we are receiving messages from across the galaxy. Word of our victory is spreading." "What kind of messages?" "Congratulations from human colonies, sir. But also something else. We are getting communications from other alien species that have been conquered by the Empire." Sarah looked up with interest. "What are they saying?" "They want to know if the reports are true. They want to know if someone has really defeated the Imperial Fifth Fleet." For 3,000 years, the Zephyrian Empire had ruled the galaxy through fear and superior technology. Hundreds of species had been conquered and forced to serve imperial interests. But now, for the first time, someone had proven that the Empire could be defeated. Signal all human ships, Sarah ordered. We are going home. We have done what we came here to do. But even as the human fleet began its journey back to human space, changes were already happening across the galaxy. On 100 different worlds, conquered species began to whisper about the humans who had destroyed the mighty Fifth Fleet. Rebellion movements that had been hidden for centuries began to plan their uprising. 6 months later, representatives from dozens of species gathered at the neutral space station called Harmony Point. The meeting had been arranged by the Galactic Council, an organization that had existed for centuries but had never been powerful enough to challenge the Empire. Sarah, Chen, now promoted to Admiral, sat across the negotiating table from High Chancellor Morden of the Zephyrian Empire. The proud alien leader who had once ruled most of the galaxy now looked old and defeated. The terms are simple and non-negotiable, Admiral Chen said clearly. All species conquered by the Empire will be given the choice of independence. The Imperial military will be reduced by 70%, and any future acts of aggression will be met with immediate response from the human fleet. High Chancellor Morden's hands shook as he looked at the treaty documents. Around the station, representatives of species that had lived under Imperial rule for centuries watched in amazement as their oppressors were finally brought down. You do not understand, Morden said desperately. The Empire has maintained order in this galaxy for millennia. Without Imperial control, there will be chaos and war between species. Maybe, Admiral Chen replied. But that will be their choice to make. Freedom includes the right to make mistakes. The Chancellor signed the treaty with a trembling hand. The Zephyrian Empire, which had once controlled thousands of worlds, was officially reduced to a small collection of their original home planets. But more important than the military defeat was what humanity had proven to the galaxy. They had shown that no matter how advanced or powerful a civilization became, they could still be defeated by people who refused to give up their freedom. In the months that followed, dozens of former imperial colonies declared their independence. Some formed new alliances with humanity. Others chose to remain alone. A few even tried to rebuild the old empire, but they found little support from species that had tasted freedom. The galaxy was becoming a very different place. Admiral Chen stood in her office aboard the new human flagship, looking out at the busy space around Earth's orbital stations. Human ships came and went constantly, carrying trade goods, colonists, and diplomatic messages to dozens of different worlds. Admiral, said her aide, the Galactic Council wants to offer you the position of Supreme Commander of their peacekeeping forces. Sarah smiled. Tell them I am honored, but humanity did not fight for the right to rule others. We fought for the right to be left alone. What should I tell them? Tell them that humans will help maintain peace in the galaxy, but only as equals among equals. No one species should have the power the Empire once held. The aide nodded and left to send the message. Sarah turned back to look at the stars. Somewhere out there, on 1,000 different worlds, people were living free lives because humans had been willing to fight for their freedom. The Empire had asked, "Whose fleet is that?" when humanity first appeared in their space. Now, everyone in the galaxy knew the answer. It belonged to a species that would never again allow bullies to control the stars. But the most important lesson was not about military power or advanced technology. It was about the human spirit, the refusal to surrender when fighting for something important, the willingness to sacrifice for others, and the determination to remain free no matter what the cost. Years later, children of many different species would learn in school about the day the humans came. They would learn how a single species changed the course of galactic civilization through courage alone. And they would learn that freedom is never given freely. It must always be earned and protected. On Earth, monuments were built to honor the millions of humans who had died in the war against the Empire. Their names were carved in stone and metal, ensuring that future generations would remember their sacrifice. But perhaps the greatest monument to their memory was the galaxy itself, a place where hundreds of species now lived as free peoples, no longer afraid of imperial oppression. The human fleet still patrolled the spaceways, watching for threats to galactic peace. But now they were not alone. Ships from dozens of different species flew alongside them, all united in the determination to prevent any single power from dominating the galaxy again. The Empire's question had been answered, and the answer had changed everything. The fleet belonged to humanity, but the freedom it had won belonged to everyone. Admiral Sarah Chen often thought about the crew of the Magellan, the first humans to die in the war against the Empire. They had been explorers and scientists, people who dreamed of finding new worlds and making friends among the stars. In a way, their dream had come true. Humanity had found new worlds and made friends across the galaxy. It had just taken a war to make it happen. But that was often how freedom worked. It was not given as a gift. It had to be won through struggle and sacrifice. And once won, it had to be protected by people willing to fight for it again if necessary. The galaxy was free, and humanity would make sure it stayed that way. That was the promise they had made to all the people who had died for freedom, and it was a promise they intended to keep. The stars themselves seemed brighter now, shining down on a galaxy where every species had the right to choose their own destiny. And among those stars, human ships continued their eternal patrol, making sure that the light of freedom would never be extinguished again.